Pantomime is a play, it's a musical, it's physical comedy, it's clowning. And what it's also doing at the same time is it's communicating to every single generation of a family. You know, I stand in front of children as a pantomime dame, famously a man dressed as a woman, telling kids to be who they want and love who they are, and asking people around them to understand who that person is. I felt so sick and I thought I'd made a dreadful mistake. The audience erupted in applause and cheering. But every time I waved at a different part of the theatre, that part of the theatre, it was like I was doing Mexican waves. I was very much in control. I liked it. I will say this is an argument I use quite a lot. If you think that McGee is sexual, you are absolutely the problem, not me. The fact that I can create a character that makes, anyone feel safe to be who they are is really a very special thing.
Welcome to the Ask Bigger podcast. Today's guest lives in a very British world, pantomime, storytelling and theatre. But the work she does goes far beyond the stage. She's a pantomime dame, an author, a touring storyteller, a Britain's Got Talent semi-finalist, and a performer who's taken stories to libraries, festivals, stages across the UK. Through her books, performance, she's helping children discover the power of stories, understanding the world around them, and help them feel confident by being exactly who they are. Please welcome the legend that is McGee.
The legend. Thank you, Simon. I'll absolutely accept that.
No, thank you so much. I was always told by someone, interview people you like. I don't like you. I love you.
No,
I love you. You are brilliant. I've seen you so many times with the kids. I've seen you at Glowworm Festival a few times.
Oh, yes.
You came to our local library the other week, and we're seeing a show on Manchester at the weekend.
Yes, the Magic Bookmark, yeah. I believe you're seeing, which is very exciting.
So I can't wait to find more out about yourself. But before I do, when I was preparing for this interview, I was struggling to think, how do I address you? Is it McGee? Is it Your Highness? Is it what? How should someone address a pantomime dame?
McGee's absolutely fine because I do like to keep myself grounded. But if there are any superlatives that you feel are appropriate in the moment that you want to put before McGee, such as the fantastic, the incredible, the wonderful, the extraordinary, the beautiful, the list is endless, so feel free to choose as many as you wish. But whatever makes you feel comfortable.
Okay. So you have performed Panto for 20 years, is that right?
I have. I did my first pantomime in 2005 at the Middlesbrough Theatre with Kim Hartman, who played Helga in A Lower Low,
okay.
And a man called Leslie Randall, who was apparently the first ever person to be on ITV, which should give you an indication of how old this man was. He was ancient. And I was the ASM, the assistant stage manager, and I understudied all the male roles. So I had my work cut out for me. Fortunately, none of them went off, and I just got to have a really good time and be in a few tiny scenes. But it was the start of my illustrious career in the Panto stage.
And what pulled you into pantomime?
Oh, well, I've just always loved it. Ever since I was a kid, which I know is the most stereotypical thing you can say, but ever since I was a kid, I used to love going to the theatre in general, but I mostly loved going to see the pantomime. And I grew up in a town called Plymouth, city, I should say, in Devon. And we've got a very big theatre there called the Plymouth Theatre Royal that used to attract major stars at the time. When I was 3, I saw Les Dawson. Wow. Which is a bit crazy. And then as I got older, I saw people like Des O'Connor and Eric Sykes, Hinge and Brackett, people from the Carry On movies, people like Roy Hudd, all sorts of people. And when you go to a theatre like that, it's really hard not to fall in love with what you're watching, because as a tiny child, I was in this really big environment, but watching a show that was so big in itself that it made the room feel like my living room. And I used to go home and try and recreate the scenes that I'd been watching, and I'd talk to my mum about the funny things that had happened and whether they were supposed to happen or not. Pantomime just absolutely enveloped me from a very young age.
And what was the first pantomime you saw as a child?
Well, the first pantomime I saw actually was in Weston-super-Mare. And my parents have told this story many times. It was Mother Goose. I was 3 or 4, and I was absolutely terrified of the witch to the point where I was crying the place down. And I ended up watching the show from the lighting booth because I was told that if there was glass between me and the witch, then she couldn't get me. So one of my mum's favourite things to say now is she can't believe that I do this for a career, because I was absolutely terrified. But the following year we saw Robinson Crusoe in Plymouth with Ruth Madoc and John Nettles, really giving the age away here. And I think from there, I just fell in love with it.
You don't hear Robinson Crusoe anymore or Mother Goose much, do you?
No, they don't get done very often. I think Robinson Crusoe potentially doesn't get done a lot because there are slightly colonialist overtones, and I think maybe the original book bit racist perhaps with Man Friday. Mother Goose, I think, is my favourite pantomime because it's the most moral story, and obviously the dame is the star. But I think that probably doesn't get done so much now because it's just not a well-known title. If tomorrow Mother Goose make a film, Disney make a film, I'm going to do that again. If tomorrow Disney make a film called Mother Goose, I'm sure we'll have Mother Goose pantomimes all over the country.
Yeah. So is it kind of led, would you say, by the media in terms of like Disney and stuff and how popular their stories are?
I certainly think so. And I certainly think pantomimes existed for 300 years. And back in the day, I mean, if you look in the 1950s, there would have been 30 or 40 different pantomime stories. But I think as we have more accessible media, Netflix, computers, phones, and people have less need to go out, people are less likely to take a risk on stories they don't know or stories they can't guarantee will be spectacular. Whereas if you go and see Cinderella, you know exactly what you're getting and you know it's going to be a big, bold, beautiful show. But if you go and see Mother Goose, you don't necessarily know what you're in for, which I think is a real shame because I think people should take the risk. But I do think that in some venues, Worthing, where we're recording, this is actually a good example. The pantomime production is trusted so much by its local audience that they could put on anything they wanted. They could probably do Schindler's List, the panto, and people would come down and have a great time. I don't recommend that you do that. But what I mean, like, if the production is trusted, they can do what they want. Whereas in bigger venues, when maybe it's reliant on a star, they are less likely to take the chance with stories that are unknown.
Yeah, we used to just go every year. It didn't matter what story it was.
Oh, absolutely.
It was a tradition.
Absolutely. And I really think that more producers should trust that audiences will do that and treat them with a bit more intelligence than they are currently treated with.
How have you seen the audiences change over the years? Because now we've got the likes of like Katie Price and Kerry Katona doing pantomime, right?
Yeah. But I mean, pantomime, the casting in pantomime has always been quite sensationalist. And I don't have a problem with casting random people. Like, I'm never going to see Kerry Katona in a show probably, so I may as well go and see her in Panto. I'd love to do that. And when Kerry Katona and Katie Price played the wicked stepsisters in Cinderella somewhere, I think it was in Chester somewhere, I could not have got on a train fast enough. If I'd been available, I would have been there. I think in general, audiences for theatre have changed quite a lot anyway, especially post-pandemic. They want more for their money, but are not prepared to pay necessarily what it costs to give them that perceived value for money. And I think they are more demanding, and I think they do. Panto especially has to work on so many different levels. If you make it too child-friendly, the adults are going to get bored. If you make it too adult-friendly, there's nothing for the children and everyone feels uncomfortable. So they really do demand now that you meet them in the middle, which is why I think the pantomime dame is such a good character, because she literally is designed to talk to every member of the audience on every level, and that's very exciting.
Yeah, because you go, I mean, obviously, when I was a child, I enjoyed it from one view, but now as an adult, I'm understanding dame jokes more and the the innuendos a little bit.
Absolutely. And I think probably it was worse when we were children, in terms of being rude, because now the other thing that happens is we've got a bit prudish, not prudish necessarily. We're just more aware of what's suitable for children, what's suitable for adults. But I think pantomime can still tread that fine line. And I think it's also very important that actually, whilst pantomime is ostensibly for children, you have to aim it at the adults in order to get the fully rounded experience. Because children will, if you tell the story well, that's all that children need, with a bit of silliness on top. They want a good story. They want to believe that Jack's life depends on him going up that beanstalk and defending the giant. Whereas the humour, I think it is better if it's aimed at adults, because then also children know what they can laugh at. Children probably haven't been to the pantomime before. So if an adult's not engaged in the experience and leading by example, then a child doesn't know what to do. So you've got to really engage the adults to get them on board, and humour's a huge part of that.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter loved it. She was, she kept going on about bum flies, because they did a joke about boobies, and it's just
absolute and boobies. Yeah. This is British culture to a T.
Absolute nonsense, but the hysterics out of her.
No, that's amazing. That's brilliant.
So one thing you do is about storytelling, and around libraries. How important were libraries to you growing up?
Hugely important. There was a library when I lived in Plymouth. We had a local library, that actually burnt down. It caught on fire one night. It was quite dramatic, and then it became like a porter cabin, which was not very exciting. But my mum used to take me there for like story times, and that's how I met some of like the greatest characters in children's literature. Like, well, I say greatest, subjective, of course. Meg and Mog, Happy Families. You can absolutely, I'm giving so much context clues as to when I was a child. You can definitely work out my age here. Meg and Mog, Happy Families, The Bogeyman. And so I can remember those stories being read to me by librarians. And, it's just, I'd go there with my friends, and it was in a park, the library, which is perfect. So then we could all go and play afterwards. And it was so close to my house. And then when we moved, we moved to Bristol, and we used to go to the local library quite a lot, because their libraries are inherently welcoming places, and they're welcoming to everyone. So if you go into a library, it doesn't matter if you're a stranger, there's something there for you. And if you are brave enough to ask the librarian for help, you could open up a whole world, because they can find things for you. They got so much knowledge at their fingertips. Librarians are incredible people. So I think libraries are hugely important.
How do you feel about librarians being replaced by the machines?
Well, that's a big question, because it doesn't make sense. No, I mean, replacing any human with a machine doesn't really make sense. I kind of get it in supermarkets, and I'm part of the problem, because I do go to self-checkout. But in a library, libraries thrive on human interaction, because they're spaces for humans. And they provide so much service to other humans that a machine just can't. And, we're finding it a lot with AI now. If I search something on Google, I will absolutely read the AI description at the top of the search. But there's always something in it that you go, no, I'm going to have to fact check that, because that does not make sense to me. And if you're in a library, you could have saved yourself so much time by just asking a librarian, who will be able to identify when information is wrong, will be able to point you in the right direction for information. And they're just amazing people. So I don't think we should replace them with machines.
And were you, clearly were, the type of kid who would love stories growing up?
Absolutely. I mean, I loved theatre, and theatre's all about storytelling. Like the point of a pantomime essentially is to tell a story. And I loved reading as a kid. I loved having stories read to me. I loved making up stories with my friends. But, everything we digest in media is storytelling. Even the news is storytelling. And I think it's a real shame that when you become an adult, you think stories aren't for you. But stories are for everyone all the time.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm not very good at reading. I hate reading the big novels.
Yeah.
So now I've got kids, I love it because I'm picture books and everything like that. I get to read all the fun stories and they're more entertaining sometimes. Right?
Absolutely. Now, I'm just going to jump in here before you ask another question and say, direct to camera, there's no shame in adults reading children's books. I love Margaret Atwood, Toni Morrison, Bret Easton Ellis. I'll read those books and I'll have a really good time. But sometimes they just melt my brain, especially Margaret Atwood, which now if you read a Margaret Atwood book, you just fill yourself with panic because she's so prescient about the world. But if you read a children's book, it is easier vocabulary-wise. Mess that up. It is easier vocabulary-wise. It's got pictures, which are a great help and really fun, really entertaining. Taking pictures out of adults' books, insane. Everyone loves pictures. And quite often, children's books are way more imaginative than an adult's book. And I've read a couple of series recently, The Strange Worlds Travel Agency by L.D. Lipinski and the Isaac something mysteries by Sam Sedgman. And they are as exciting, if not more exciting, than adult books I've read. And I've put those books down and gone, I need to read the next one immediately. And I have. So sorry to interrupt.
No.
Had to do a PSA about why, if you struggle with reading, there's no shame in reading children's books. Because also the most important thing, we talk to children about reading for pleasure, but it's so important that adults read for pleasure as well. And it ties back to why adults have to enjoy the pantomime and you have to aim stuff at the adults. Because regardless of whether you mean to or not, any adult that interacts with a child is leading by example. They're giving information to that child about how to be in this world. And engaging with the arts and reading books are fundamental ways of making our lives better and educating ourselves. So if we can read for pleasure and we can enjoy the panto, then we're telling kids that they can read for pleasure and they can enjoy the panto. And then hopefully they become adults that aren't as scared of those things as potentially we are.
So before the Pantomime Dame, people might not realise that you've performed Chekhov and all sorts of stuff, right?
Yes. Alongside being a pantomime dame, I've done acting. I've been in Chekhov, Shakespeare, taken place to Italy. I did a #1 national tour of a musical called The Glenn Miller Story, which was with Tommy Steele, who was a very famous actor to my Gran's generation. So he was absolutely thrilled I was doing that show. And he was far too old to play Glenn Miller. I've done acting and all sorts.
Does it annoy you if someone says, "Oh, you've done proper acting," and they're not looking down, but they don't rank it in the same kind of bracket as a dame? And
it does a little bit. I like that sentiment rankles with me. Most people are not stupid enough to say it to me now, but I genuinely think it's really important that people treat pantomime as seriously as they would treat going to see a David Mamet play or going to see some Ibsen at the National. Because actually, pantomime's doing way more than all of those plays. Pantomime is a play, it's a musical, it's physical comedy, it's clowning, it's a big spectacular, it's usually got fireworks in, it's sometimes got water in, it's got custard pies, it's got this, it's got that. I don't want to brag, but I could probably do some Chekhov in my sleep. But Panto takes effort and concentration, and it's all timed in a way that, a more serious play potentially isn't. And what it's also doing at the same time, which I think pantomime's massively undervalued for, is it's communicating to every single generation of a family. You can have grandparents, parents, and grandchild come and see a pantomime and hear what you think about Brexit or hear what you think about the Labour Party, all wrapped up in a joke. But they all go away thinking and potentially discussing those things. Whereas if you put on a political play at the National, and also I should say pantomime is for everybody. It doesn't matter the colour of your skin, how much or how little money you've got. And you are saying that idea to everyone at the same time. Whereas a play at the National could be a searing indictment of New Labour, but is only speaking to a very small demographic, but is only speaking to a very small demographic of people who probably don't need to see the play because they agree. Whereas a panto, you can actually challenge people. A few years ago, I did a version of Dick Whittington, which it must have been a long time ago because Theresa May was the baddie. She was the cat. And Theresa May had done one thing that had really upset me, which was try and send children of the Windrush generation back to where they came from, which was, the Caribbean, even though a lot of those children were born in this country and their parents came to this country at our invitation. And I was really upset about it. And it happened at the same time that we were getting, near the Brexit, like what was going to happen. You remember when Theresa May was really having to make some decisions and was just dancing in fields instead. And I did a pantomime where Dick Whittington was part of the Windrush generation. So the baddie was trying to get him back to Jamaica, even though he came from Gloucester. And there was some Brexit chat in there as well. And afterwards, a lady came up to me and she went, I love pantomime. I think it's absolutely brilliant, but I don't expect it to be propaganda. And I was like, well, that's brilliant. Because the reason you think it's propaganda is because you've been forced to think about your own politics. Someone in what you consider and what is a safe, warm, family-friendly environment, someone has used their voice to say what they think, and it's challenged you in a way that you didn't expect to be challenged. And the fact we're not using Panto to do that more is absolutely baffling to me.
Do you think it's because people are scared to do that?
You probably, yeah. I think you do have to think of the commercial aspect of it as well. And if you were to be too left wing, too right wing, too this, too that, you'd reduce your audience. So when I do pantos, I try and not be subtle. I will say very clearly what I think, but that's not the main crux of what I'm doing. The reason I'm there is to have fun, be joyful, and give families a special memory. I remember a few years ago in Poole, Peter Duncan, for Blue Peter, yeah. He produced a panto that was really heavy on environmental messaging. And whilst that's a great message, there was a lot of talk in the paper about whether it's too much, whether do we want all of this rammed down our throats at Christmas? And I think probably the answer is no. You can say what you think, but you've got to be a bit clever about how you do it.
So when did Mama G actually start?
So Mama G started in 2018. I was, at that point, producing small pantomimes with my company, Petite Pantos, and we took a production of Mother Goose to the Brighton Fringe, which on paper was a really good idea, but actually in practice is kind of crazy because it's hard enough to sell a show when it's the only show in town. But when you're trying to sell a show and there's hundreds of others happening at the same time, it's really difficult. And we were really struggling to break through and get ticket sales through the normal avenues such as flyering and going on radio shows and stuff like that. So I thought, I'll tell you what happened. We got a spot in that park next to the pavilion. So I went down as Mother Goose, the pantomime dame, with my friend Ethan, who was playing the goose. And the kids just went crazy for us because we were so different to, I guess, what else had been on. And afterwards we were having a drink and I was like, I think there might be something in that. I know it's Brighton, so the kids are pretty open-minded already, but they really latched on to that character. And as the week progressed, I thought, well, I think I'm going to try and do storytelling because traditionally Mother Goose in the French 1700s was a collector of nursery rhymes. So I thought, what better way to promote the panto? And I think my first gig was in a vegan cafe in Brighton. Don't get much more cliche than that. And I performed to like 4 people, but it went really well. And we got a bit of attention. We got a bigger audience because it was something interesting for the socials to engage with. But then from that point, people were immediately interested in McGee. And I guess I've just grown from there.
You clearly enjoy doing it, right?
Oh, I love it.
You travel across the whole country.
Absolutely. I mean, I love it for lots of reasons, but going to all these different places is one of them. I mean, the UK is such a small country, but I've been to places that I know I never would have been to if it wasn't for the work that I was doing. And I really believe in my message, which is be who you want and love who you are. I love that I've got a way that I can incorporate storytelling. And I actually remember my Gran, when I was about 15 or 16, she said to me that if you want to be an actor, you're going to have something that makes money, you know, when you're not acting. And she said, I don't know why, but I think what you need to do is just stand up in a room and tell stories. And she bought me some CDs of people like Bob Newhart and Joyce Grenfell, who are ostensibly storytellers, character comedians. And I sort of was like, yeah, whatever. Because, I loved my grandma. I didn't always listen to her ideas. But it turns out she was 100% right. And I probably should have listened to more because that's what I do now. And the fact I get to do pantomime all year round is incredible to me because it's my favourite thing in the world.
What do your family think of you doing what you're doing?
Well, they're very proud. And I've got quite a small family, but I do think across the board, very proud. And I, in a way, it might sound a bit sad, but I think it's brought we're quite a disparate family. We all live in different parts of the country, and we always have actually. My dad's family's scattered all over the place. My mum's family's a bit more centred apart. They mostly live in Devon, apart from the ones that live in Scotland. So they're not even that close to each other. But I actually think McGee has brought us together and it's made us closer because it's given them all something that's tangible to understand what I do. And a lot of my mum's cousins, when I share something about McGee on Facebook, they will be the first people to share it. And they'll message me, and a lot of them have come to see me. And I don't know genuinely if that would have happened if McGee didn't exist. And if you want to know how my dad's side of the family feel about it, just to bring up my Gran one more time, she died about 7 years ago, I think. And I hadn't seen a lot of them, as you don't see a lot of people until you go to the funeral. And I hadn't seen some of them for years, probably not since her 80th birthday, which had been about 6 years before. And we met for coffee at a garden centre, which was opposite the crematorium. And when I walked in, they all turned around and went, McGee! Which I thought, not the right time, but that's quite beautiful. Because also I was not dressed like this. I was dressed very somberly. So I think they're very proud. I think, my parents maybe, and my Gran certainly, they were a bit like, oh, what is this year round? I'm not sure. My Gran, she always wanted me to do Shakespeare and stuff like that. And I'd known she wasn't keen on, she really didn't like pantomime at all. But I think as my parents especially, they're always going to be proud, but especially as they've seen the impact that McGee has on her audiences, and, books and stuff, I think they're just like incredibly proud of me. And I'm very lucky to have parents like that, actually.
If someone who's never seen you before comes to see you, what can they expect in the first 5 minutes from you?
Well, the first 5 minutes will probably be me trying to make my speaker work. And promising that I'm not texting, but all the texts on the phone. Then the next 5 minutes, which I think is the 5 minutes you were asking about, will be it's a little bit, sort of stand up for kids a little bit. A pantomime it's me standing in front of an audience saying, please like me, please find this funny, please, I beg. And we'll get stories, songs, I'll read picture books. I also tell my own original stories. It's very interactive, just like pantomime is. And it really is for everybody. Like, I love it when parents come up to me and say, oh, I think I enjoyed that more than the kids. And I'm like, brilliant. That's great. And, for adults especially, a lot of adults didn't get to see themselves in stories when they were kids, which again is one of the reasons I do this. And so for some people, it can be the first time they've been the main character in a children's story, and that can be quite an amazing experience. So that's what happens. It's a lot of tech issues and then quite a lot of fun.
It felt like it went quite smooth when I...
Yeah, the thing is it's really 50-50 how it's going to go. It all depends on whether I remember to plug the speaker in, whether I've brought the right speaker, whether I've got the right phone with me, whether I'm having to run it off the laptop, which I've hastily made iTunes playlist because I forgot something. It's just so many different factors that could go wrong.
And I think as an audience, we probably don't factor all the hard work that goes in behind the scenes of getting ready, making sure you've got all this tech, because you are doing it on your own almost.
Yes, pretty much by myself. When I do the Magic Bookmark, which is my Panto that you'll come to see on Sunday, I do have one of my friends does the tech with me because that would be too complicated. But yeah, most of the time I'm just going around the country by myself, not knowing sort of sometimes even the community that I'm walking into, not knowing the building I'm walking into, where I'm going to get changed, what the audience are going to be like. And, you know, when I was in St. Helens Libraries a few weeks ago, they contacted me and said, we'd love to have a BSL interpreter for you. Can you send us a script of what you're going to do? And so I did. And I said, but it's really likely to change because this is like my average story time. But if I get in front of the audience and maybe there's a lot of non-English speakers, which can happen especially for a story time in London, I might do something that's more visual, in which case these stories probably aren't going to be the ones I read. If I get into a story time and it's an older audience, then I'm going to change the stories. So every time Mama G is doing a performance, she's thinking on her feet the whole time. And that's without even worrying about whether the next song is going to play or what I'm going to have for lunch or whether I've got enough time to get to the next library, how many books I'm going to sell afterwards. It's a lot going on.
I mean, Mama G feels like part storyteller, part performer, part fairy godmother, almost. How would you describe yourself to someone?
Well, my byline is storytelling pantomime. Actually, I'll tell you how to describe myself. Any press release I send out always starts with join everyone's favourite pantomime dame, Metro. I'll let you into a little secret here, Simon. That is literally how I describe myself, because that's how I described myself in a press release I sent to the Metro, which they then printed, and then I can put Metro after it. But no, a year-round pantomime dame who tells stories to children and their families about being who you want and loving who you are.
How many costumes do you have? Because this outfit you got today is amazing.
Thank you. This is just my casual lounging around outfit that was actually made by a designer who used to live in Brighton but now lives in Manchester. And I've probably got like 5 or 6 that are on a regular rotation, which means I know I can fit in them. And then I've probably got about 20 altogether. That's occasionally I'll take one out of rotation, and if I've seen one in my storage unit, I've forgotten about that. I used to really like wearing that. I'll pop that back in. But I've got my standards, and certainly on my standard outfits, and certainly on social media, especially on TikTok, there are certain outfits that get bigger reactions. I've got this one dress that's made to look like books. And if that's in a TikTok video, the video will get loads of views. So I'm quite likely to wear that. This one's very popular because it's so sparkly and so stylish. And then I've got loads of others. I'm very lucky.
What's the most chaotic thing to ever happen to you at a pantomime?
Oh, well, I'm quite a chaotic person, and I welcome chaos as well. I absolutely blooming love it. I think probably the most chaotic thing that's happened to me on stage is I was wearing a dress that was made to look like a picnic table. So it was a bit of MDF with a hole in the middle that I stepped in that was then supported by a belt around my waist. And then it had a bigger bit of MDF that was attached to the first bit by ribbons. So it looked like or maybe I was supposed to look like a cake stand. I was supposed to look like a cake stand. And then there were cakes dotted on it. And I can't remember what routine we were doing, but I dropped something and it rolled into the orchestra pit. And I thought, it's fine. I can 100% pick that up. So I tried to pick it up, and I couldn't bend over really. So I sat on the edge of the stage, and as I was trying to pick it up, I slipped. Oh. But the big MDF wedged me between the stage and I think it was the piano or the music stand. So my legs were dangling like that, and I wasn't near enough either thing to get any leverage. So I just was like, well, I live here now unless someone can help me with something. And eventually I think the saxophonist had to push my legs up, and the comic picked me up from the armpits, and eventually we got on stage. But it was quite funny because it was hysterical, but the audience did that thing where they laughed loads and then they got worried and then they laughed more because the whole thing became absurd. It must have taken ages. And I think this was the same production actually, but another time, this was backstage, we were all getting along quite well. We're quite a rough and tumble group, and for some reason, we were playing a game in the dressing room, and I rugby tackled Maid Marian, but I hit my head on the wall to the point where I couldn't move my neck for a little while, and people thought, "Oh no, she's concussed." But it was fine. Then I got up on stage, and Maid Marian and I had a bit of dialogue before my opening spot, and she would ask me questions and I'd respond, fairly standard, except for some reason this time. We got into a rhythm where she would ask me a question and I would answer the previous question. So nothing we were saying was making sense. And she was trying to establish the story and I just wasn't making sense. And eventually she left. And I tried and do my opening spot and I couldn't remember a single punchline. Eventually the band was shouting the punchlines out to me because I couldn't remember them. And when I came off stage, the stage manager said, "Do you need to go to hospital?" And I said no, and we got through it. But I think those might have even happened in the same show, not the same production.
Chaos. I think it's funny though, isn't it? As an audience member watching, you know, when you break character and you laugh at we laugh along with you that you've broken character. It's quite.
Oh, it's so strange, and I love seeing it. As a kid, some of my favourite moments at a panto were seeing actors laughing. And when actors genuinely laugh, I just think it's beautiful. I love watching bloopers on YouTube. When you see actors fake laughing, I'm like, oh, that's not so fun. But there's no, I think a panto really zings when the audience can tell that the actors are having fun, but the actors are still doing their utmost to tell the story and play a character. In the panto I've just done, Beauty and the Beast in Hertford, we had this amazing slosh scene, which is like the really messy slapstick bit where we were just trying to mop a floor and it would always go wrong. And I was saying to my friend yesterday, actually, I was like, I think that's one of my favourite things I've ever done because I always knew I was going to enjoy it. And at some point in that scene, every day, it would just become me and the other actor trying to stand up. And I love falling over. And when the audience trusts that you're both being safe and you're not getting hurt, it's just gold. I love it.
So kids, when they arrive, they don't arrive with an agenda, do they? They're just coming along curious and seeing a fun character reading a book.
Absolutely.
What's the strangest thing that a child said to you after seeing you read a book?
Do you know what? They've probably said so many strange things, but I've got quite a terrible memory. I'm very fortunate that lots of children want to talk to me afterwards, so they want to say really nice things. I'm sure plenty of them have said quite obnoxious things. Usually the question is, what's under... Oh, and usually the question is that a wig? And
no, it's not.
And I'm like, no, this is my natural hair. Yeah. And then I ask them if that's a wig. And they say, no, it's my hair. And I'm like, well, there we go. If you can tell hair, this is real. And I think when they ask questions like that, it's really important and fun to play with their understanding of what's going on. So you're sort of trying to say, I want you to know that I'm being silly and I'm telling you a little fib, But I also want you to know it's more fun if you believe the fib. Because we've created a character. You've bought into this enough to ask me that question without assuming it for yourself. So it's more fun if I don't give the real answer away.
And has any kid ever said something that's made you stop and think, wow, this is what I'm doing here is massive?
Yeah, and those moments again. Not that they all roll in one, but I do have a bad memory. But there have been occasions, especially if I'm doing prides, where an older child, maybe a teenager, has watched me do a story time and then has gone away and maybe half an hour later has come back and said, I just told my parents who I am and because you gave me the confidence to do it. It's a big responsibility. But the fact that I can create a character that makes children and anyone feels safe to be who they are is really a very special thing. And I always think it's amazing. Whoever that person has come out to or explained themselves to or just told more about themselves, the fact they've got someone they can go and do that to is always really, really, really special as well. And I'm just lucky that I get to be the springboard for that conversation. That always means a lot. And it means a lot when parents say, you've made this easier for my child to understand who they are, or you've made it easier for us to understand our child. And sometimes, the best compliment is, it was really fun. I love that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm very lucky.
I mean, that's why I described you earlier as a godmother, because you're almost giving these kids superpowers, and being who they are, that's such an important thing. And it sounds easy to just be who you are, but it's so difficult for some people to do that.
Absolutely. And I think the key thing is, I know obviously I'm here wearing rainbows and sparkles, but at some point everybody has struggled to be who they are for whatever reason. And whilst a lot of the storytelling I do is really enjoyed by the LGBT community, the stories are for everyone, even, a straight presenting person or someone who is straight, heterosexual. There's something about them at some point that they've been told isn't right or they haven't liked. And the fact that I can also tell that person, just, you are great, you're amazing, you're fantastic. Whatever you think is wrong with you is actually the thing that makes you incredibly special. And I'm so glad we've had this conversation. It's a real... thank you for saying it's a superpower, but it feels like a real blessing that I even get to have that conversation. And the more I tell these stories and the more I have those conversations with people, actually, and this was a side effect I was not expecting, the more I believe it about myself and the more I value the things about me that I don't necessarily like. And I just think if more people are taught to be who they want and love who they are, they learn to respect other people's right to be who they want and love who they are, and then there'll probably be no war. So I've just solved it. Buy my book.
Do you have to pinch yourself sometimes to realise what impact you're having, really? Or do you really take it in? Or
I think if I thought about the actual impact I'm having, it would be incredibly overwhelming. And when people say thank you to me or tell me about ways that I've affected them positively, I do tend to just let it wash over me. A, so it doesn't overwhelm me, and B, so I don't get big-headed, because you're on a really fine line about which one's going to happen. But I'm just so incredibly fortunate that I can have that effect. But I also have to pinch myself about so many things. I can't believe I get to do this as a career. Little me would never believe that the thing I've dreamt about doing is the thing that I do almost the whole time, let alone having such a positive impact on people. I'm very, very lucky.
So let's talk about your books.
Yes.
So we got Oh, Yes, I Am, which is brilliant, about little Bobby.
Yes.
Who lives in I don't know why I'm describing it.
I'm glad to hear it.
Who lives in a grey world. Everything's grey. His mum spent a lot of money decorating grey.
Yeah.
And then he finally gets to go to the pantomime and he sees the dame come on, full of colour. And what an important message is spreading is that he sees the baddie come on right?
Yeah.
And she says, oh, no, oh, yes, you are, no,
Yeah.
no, you're not. But just the dame's just full of colour. And then afterwards he goes out and he says, oh, yes, I am.
Yeah.
The sky turns blue. Oh, yes, I am. The trees turn green. And it's a good story of him accepting who he is, right?
Yeah. And thank you. That was
Is that a good summary?
beautifully summarised.
I've read it about 1,700 times. Because do you know what? It's a lovely story. I mean, Toto did the
Toto's amazing.
But it's a nice story full of colour. And I think where you've got the grey, I mean, this is my favourite page because the contrast of the boys sat there and then the dame, the grey and the...
Well, actually, this is also my favourite page. And when I was first sent the PDF proof of this, I was in a Starbucks on like the M6 somewhere at basically a truck stop, which has already taken my life in my hands. And I read the PDF on my computer. When I got to this page, I burst into tears because Toto and I don't know each other very well, but we had met previously and they saw the Magic Bookmark. And it's thanks to Toto's husband, James, that this book is in existence. But Toto and I had never spoken about what we wanted the illustrations to look like or what was going to happen on any page. And this page, the grey page, is literally, I swear on Danny LaRue's life, that page is a picture of me when I was a child. And it really, it just blew me away because I've experienced that, and my experience is why this book exists. And I couldn't believe that Toto had so beautifully captured that from my less than 500 words, which means he's absolutely the perfect illustrator. So I'm very grateful to Toto and also to James for helping make this happen. But yeah, I think I ostensibly wrote the book so that if I won Britain's Got Talent, I'd have something to sell. Did not happen. But I'm really glad it exists, and I'm really glad it came to me in the way that it did, because I think it shows the positive power of Panto. And I love that I just love the illustrations, and it's such a beautiful thing and I love reading it to kids. I love reading it to adults. But also the important thing for me is that Bobby is grey because of his surroundings, but not grey because of who he is. And I think so often we're told to be something that's against who we are, that we are made to be grey. And actually fighting against that and saying, no, I am the perfect version of me is so powerful. And I'm so excited that I stumbled upon a way to use Panto to put that message across, because this is all really part of my crusade to show that pantomime is just so much more valuable than just a throwaway commercial operation at Christmas. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I'm glad you've read it so many times.
And then the other one,
yes,
it's the Panto song.
Yes, now this is a bit silly, this one. I used to sing, well, I still do sing the Panto song at the start of my story times, and it's a song where you introduce kids to the sorts of characters they might meet on stage. And then I thought, I think this might make quite a good book. So basically, it's to the tune of The Wheels on the Bus, and you meet the different characters that you'll see on stage. And I really value this book because Daniel Hanton, who's also a pantomime dame, who's the illustrator of this, he really got on board with the diversity of the characters in the story. Which is, I will say, pantomime does struggle with diversity. You can go and see pantomimes without any POC people in it whatsoever, which I hate. There's not enough women in pantomime, and there's certainly not enough disabled people in pantomime. But we've included all of those in the book. And actually, the other day, I was reading the book and singing the song at a library in Greenwich. And there was a girl in a wheelchair who was a person of colour as well. And the princess is a person of colour in a wheelchair. And when we opened that page, the mum went, oh, "It's you." And I was like, oh, I didn't even mean for that to happen. But this is so beautiful. And again, that just sums up why I think it's so important for everyone to be included in stories.
I mean, the other thing, you don't just read your own books, do you? You read other books. And we found a new favourite.
Okay.
Can you guess what it is?
Is it one that I've read?
Yeah.
Is it Bathe the Cat?
No.
Rainbow-Saurus.
Rainbow-Saurus.
Oh!
Rainbow-Saurus. So we had to order this from Amazon after you read it. And it's so simple. But it's
listen, I think Rainbow-Saurus is one of the best books for children ever written, because it's not really got a story, but it's incredibly fun to read. It does introduce families to a two-dad family. The animals in the book follow the colours of the Pride Progress rainbow flag. And it's so much fun to read. And did you see me read that?
Yeah, and then we had to order it afterwards.
I'm so pleased.
Because they wanted to go and find the Rainbow-Saurus, so we had to go and find the book.
It's a bit like we're going on a bear hunt.
Yeah.
But
more fun, I would say.
Dare I say it? Yeah, better.
Yeah.
Big Michael Rosen fan, obs. But should just say that's by Steve Anthony, who did the illustrations. He's got loads and loads and loads of books, but I genuinely think that is one of the best books ever written for kids. And the only thing that irritates me when I read it is that I didn't write it, because it's such a good idea.
You could do one with the Panto characters, couldn't you?
Yeah, I just think that one is so perfect, and it rhymes. And you can get the kids joining in, shouting out, doing the animal noises. It's such a clever book. So I'm glad you got that.
How do you choose what books to read alongside yours?
Oh, that's really interesting. Well, first and foremost, I look at what the message of the book is. And so as long as they're about being who you want and loving who you are, in some way, I will consider them. But then beyond that, I look at how easy they are to make performative. Rainbow-Saurus, incredibly easy, because you get the kids shouting out. I do another book called Bathe the Cat, which I think is also one of my favourites, which you might have seen me read at the same time. Yeah, with the cat puppet. And that's the minute I read that, I understood how that worked in terms of a performance. And you get some books that are great to read in our sort of a one-to-one setting, because the illustrations tell so much of the story. But obviously my audience sometimes is 20 metres away from me, like the back row. So I can't rely on the pictures to do the storytelling. And I don't personally like it, although there are a few books I do this with where I'm like telling the story of the book, and now let's describe the pictures, because I think that, you know, both things are supposed to work together. So if I have to interrupt one to talk about the other, then it's not the ideal book for me. But mostly I look for books that will make me laugh, I think will make audiences laugh. Also, if you pitch it right, and Oh Yes I Am is slightly along this line, if a book that's a little bit sad towards the end, when the kids have danced, they've worn themselves out, a book that's like a sit down, listen, as much fun as it is to like read Rainbow-Saurus and have them shouting out, when you read, dare I say it, Oh Yes I Am, and there's a pin drop, there's also nothing like that. And for that, it has to be a story that is so strong and the characters are so engaging and the stakes are so high. Ones I would recommend for that are The Frog's Kiss, which is also by Toto and James Mayhew, which is a retelling of The Frog Prince. Julian is a Mermaid is really good for that. You know, that's when you realise that some books they're just good books, and a good book is good for everyone, not just kids, not just adults, but everybody. So I'm just really going all around the houses here to answer that question.
And you have a special relationship with a certain elephant as well, don't you?
Oh, I'm very good friends with Alma the Patchwork elephant. I'm just going to say that again. I've got itch my nose, sorry. I'm very good friends with Alma the Patchwork elephant, who is the original Be Who You Want and Love Who You Are. Alma is like, I think 36 years old now, so slightly younger than I am. But it's so loved. And I'm really lucky that Anderson Press, who are the publisher, they've let me do a lot of work with Alma, and I've gone to the Edinburgh International Book Festival with Alma. Glowworm, we do a lot with Alma. Just loads of places. We love Alma.
And I've seen you at Glowworm in the CBeebies tent reading your own book. Yes. I think it was last time. Has there been no opportunity for you to go on CBeebies and actually read it on air?
Nothing's come of that. Now, I've been researching this mostly by looking at their social media. And when it's on television, the people that read the books are incredibly famous. Like gobsmackingly famous, and they don't tend to have authors on there reading the book. Now, I know I bridge the gap between author and international icon, but I don't think I'm quite at Tom Hardy's standards yet. So I am trying to think of who would read Oh Yes, I Am. It has to be a major pantomime icon, and I think it has to be someone... I think it probably has to be Julian Clary. So I'm going to start that campaign right now to get Julian Clary to read my book on CBeebies.
Have you sent him a copy?
I actually haven't.
Right.
I did send Rob Madge a copy. Rob Madge is also in the Palladium Panto and an incredible performer. And they said really, really nice things about the book.
Okay.
So maybe this Christmas I'll send one to Julian Clary with a little note in it that I think he should read it on CBeebies. Don't know what people would think if Julian Clary arrived on CBeebies. Probably a lot of parents would be quite anxious.
I mean, you're so much bigger than just performing. So you're touring, you're writing books, you're writing songs, you're putting on shows, you're starring in the shows. You've almost created like this brand.
Yes.
Was that purposely done, or is that just fumbled together?
I think you know the answer to that, Simon, and it's fumbled together. Honestly, I started the storytelling to do Panto more, and then things snowball, and suddenly you are a brand. And now I'm very conscious of Mama G and who she is and what she represents, and especially with social media, what you're putting out on social media. Whereas back in the day, if someone asked me to promote a book, I'd say yes, and then I'd read it and I'd be like, well, this is dreadful. But I'm like, I've done it now. I've got to put it out there. So yeah, I am. I still try and be kind about it, but I am quite protective now of the brand.
And what's more difficult, would you say, performing or being behind the scenes at the pantomime?
Well, for me, being behind the scenes is more difficult because that's not my area of expertise. But if you were to speak to a member of the stage crew, they would 100% say that performing was hard. The key thing is when you're working on a panto, you're working with people that are all doing different jobs but aiming for the same goal, and that's when it all comes together beautifully.
When I was on stage, I learned a few tips.
Okay.
And advice that I didn't know, secrets, I guess. One of the secrets is that the villain always enters from a certain side.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know that it was that.
Did they tell you why that happens?
No.
Right. This is why Panto is so fascinating, because it's a very British thing, but its influences are global. And the villain enters on stage right, the villain enters on stage left, and the good fairy enters on stage right traditionally. And that's because of the ancient Greeks. Because in ancient Greek, the word for right was dexter, which is where we get the modern word dexterous from, which is a good thing. But the ancient Greek word for left was sinistra, which is where we get the modern word sinister from. So in ancient Greek theatre, anyone who was evil entered stage left just as a signifier that they were the baddie, and the good people would enter stage right. And we still do that now. Also, Panto's got a lot of influences from Commedia dell'arte, which is an Italian clowning tradition. So it's amazing that everyone's so proud of British culture, but British culture is borrowed from lots of other places around the world. Mic drop.
Shh, don't tell some people that. How powerful is the phrase, "Oh, yes, I am"?
Oh, incredibly powerful. And every time I read the book, I learn how much more powerful it is. It takes so much confidence to stand in front of someone and say, oh, yes, I am, especially when they're saying, oh, no, you're not. And, you know, in the book, when Bobby's seen the pantomime, he goes and stands in front of his mirror and says, oh, yes, I am 3 times, like he's trying to call the Candyman. But in fact, what happens is that's when colour starts to come into his own life rather than just what he saw on stage. And I think that's a really valid metaphor for how I feel about the confidence to say, oh, yes, I am. The more you believe in yourself, the brighter you'll become. And the brighter you become, the brighter the world becomes, the brighter the people around you become. And believing in yourself isn't just a gift for who you are, it's a gift for other people as well, because the more confident you are, the more confident you allow other people to become. I think it's incredibly important, and I'm really grateful that pantomime has taught me that.
Unfortunately, there are some people that seem to have an agenda or whatever out there. I think it was late last year you had some events cancelled by a certain council.
Yes. I don't mind. Suffolk.
Yeah, Suffolk. They cancelled some of your events, saying there'll be protest risk.
Yes.
What was all that about?
It's interesting. So a few years ago in America, there was a big outcry about drag story time, which was drag queens going into libraries and reading stories, or families going into more traditional drag spaces and hearing stories at family-friendly times, not like they were taking families to club nights. And we got a little bit of that in this country. And I would make it very clear, let me do that again. Make it very clear, I'm a pantomime dame, not a drag queen. So, and I've called myself a pantomime dame my entire career, 20 years. And so I sort of avoided backlash, although it has, when you're reading stories with positive LGBT representation, you do naturally get some backlash. But yeah, a few drag queens that work in this country doing storytelling, they received a lot of awful protests and things. And then last year, I got a phone call from Suffolk Library, so I've worked with for 7 years, and they'd just been taken over. They used to be a charity, but they got taken over by the council. And they told me that they'd decided to postpone my story times because there was a risk of protest, which had never been anything I'd experienced in Suffolk. I have had, I think, 3 protests across my 7-year career. 2 of them were in North Wales, sorry to say, and one of them was in Wembley. But it's just ridiculous because those protests never really made the national press.
What are they protesting about? A pantomime dame? Really?
I think what they're protesting about is LGBT stuff.
Right.
And I think they think the idea of a man dressing as a woman is inherently sexual and pro-LGBT. I will say, this is an argument I use quite a lot. If you think that McGee is sexual, you are absolutely the problem, not me. So we go and talk to someone about that. So I think I know there's a lot of, 2 of the protests I had were like extremist Christian groups, which always baffles me because I'm not a religious person, but I did grow up around Christianity, and certainly the Christianity I grew up around with was very accepting of everyone and taught me the same stuff that I'm teaching children now. But yeah, so they decided to postpone the story times in Suffolk to do a further risk assessment. Unfortunately, what happened over that period is that I put I don't understand how Instagram works. I put a story on my Instagram saying that I just lost a lot of money due to a last-minute cancellation, and you can't, people have to treat self-employed people better. It was like 3 weeks before these events were supposed to take place, and I'm suddenly having a lot of money taken out of my summer budget. And you can't just because someone's self-employed, they have got human rights. You can't just take money away from them. But then somebody worked out that was Suffolk Council. And then you can share stories, which I didn't know. I thought only your followers could see stories. And that really snowballed. And then I started getting calls from local journalists. And then I started getting calls from the BBC. Then I started getting calls from like actual BBC News. The other thing you have to take into account is bad publicity is good publicity. So I was talking to journalists, and I think I was well within my right to. But then because I was talking to journalists, some local councillors decided to get involved. And that's when things really went south, because one councillor put a statement on her Facebook saying just outrageous things that were wrong. And I consider very personal attacks on my character, not just my work. Because the other thing is, you're allowed to not like my work. You can 100% not like my work. But what's the phrase? Don't ick someone's yum. Like, if people enjoy my work, let them come and see it. But she was saying that I was a grifter because I was using taxpayers' money to fund my lifestyle. And I was this, I was that. And essentially what it came down to is transphobia. Every interview I saw with her, she was talking about the fact that I was telling kids they could change their bodies and they could have chemical surgeries done, which is not the case. You know, I stand in front of children as a pantomime dame, famously a man dressed as a woman, telling kids to be who they want and love who they are, and asking people around them to understand who that person is. And that's the same. If I say to child A, be who you want and love who you are, I'm talking to the 4 people around them to understand who that person is, to that person, and then talking to the 4 people, including child A. You know, like, I'm talking to everyone. But then eventually they cancelled it by saying I was promoting gender advocacy, which is also crazy to me because you can't promote gender. Everyone's experienced it. It doesn't need the advertising. It's baffling. But I got a lot of support. We ended up replacing the Storytimes in theatres, which was fantastic. It really galvanised people, and I'm still doing what I'm doing. I'm going to the Edinburgh Fringe this year with the Magic Bookmark, which I'm really excited for. So actually, because I'm doing the right thing, my career's getting bigger and better, and also because I believe in what I'm doing, and my belief in what I'm doing doesn't come at the cost of anybody else. Whereas what upset me with the councillor's remarks is she's allowed to believe what she thinks, but she was trying to interfere with my career. And at no point in any interaction did I try and stop her from being a councillor or stop her from thinking what she's thinking. But she actually got me, my work was cancelled. And that really upsets me, because the whole thing about being who you want and loving who you are is understanding that people are going to have different views to you and they are allowed to hold those views. But the one thing that phrase should encourage in everybody is empathy. And I have empathy that this person doesn't agree with me. She's trying to do the best for her constituents. She's trying to do the best for her family, which does not involve me. I'm doing exactly the same. I'm trying to do the best for my audience. I'm trying to make my family proud. I'm trying to pass on a positive message that does not involve her. And
and she said, "Oh no, you're not."
Exactly.
Said, what did you say?
I said, "Oh yes, I am."
Yeah, exactly. I showed her. I mean, there is a lot of backlash and noise around drag performers and trans in the media at the minute. I actually took part in drag.
Did
at
you?
The Colchester Dragonfly Club.
Okay.
I was doing a conference there where I was speaking, and then in the evening they had a drag event.
Yeah.
And I thought, hey, this is the opportunity. So I got it took them 2 hours to do my and so fair play to people who do drag and stuff. It's a lot of work to get ready.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it takes me about 45 minutes now. But yeah, back in the day. And also this actual face has taken me about 15 years of finessing to get it to look half as good. And one of the reasons I say I'm a pantomime dame and not a drag queen is because I do not want a drag queen to think that I think this is how they look. Like, this is Panto day makeup 100%.
I can't even remember where I was going with that. I just wanted to tell you I
just wanted to, I
just wanted to tell you, share that.
You were saying there was backlash. There's been backlash.
Yeah, there's been backlash about trans at the minute, massively. I mean, my personal belief is I don't care what you are, just let's all be nice and happy to each other.
Absolutely. This is something I tried to say last year. I said, they accused me of gender advocacy, which completely misses the point. I don't care, genuinely, I don't care if someone's trans. I don't care if someone's gay, bisexual, asexual. I don't care if someone's from Rwanda or someone's from Russia. Like, be you. The thing I care about the most is that you are a confident, happy human being who is giving the world all the parts of you that the world deserves. That's brilliant. If you're trans and that's how it happens, fantastic. If being gay is the true you and you're happy and confident, that's fantastic. If being straight is the happy and confident you, brilliant. My stories aren't about convincing you to be one or the other. It's about convincing you to be you, and no one apart from you has got any say in who that person is.
It's funny because I work with like proper old school people with shirt and tie kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I spoke in New York late last year, and they're all there in their shirt and ties and everything. And I would have thought once upon a time I had to behave like that.
Yeah.
But I come onto the stage dressed as a hot dog to Ozzy Osbourne, and the looks of disgust I got off people. But you know what? They're all talking about it afterwards.
Absolutely. Because you were being confidently you.
Yeah.
A hot dog.
And it is difficult because you get told you have to fit in a box. So I've been through this journey the last couple of years about, right, no, who am I? Why can't I be me in my industry? And if they don't like it, not my problem, is it? They can go and not like it.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to be you.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know, a fundamental thing of realising that it is okay to be you is understanding that other people will not like that. And that is absolutely fine, because if not liking you is true to who they are, absolutely brilliant. So long as they understand that you're working together or we're in social situations together and you both have absolutely the right to exist, that's fine.
I normally have like a bit of stubble. Some people say it's scruffy, and this guy at work always says to me, "Oh, you haven't had a shave," and now I've learned to say, I said, "Oh, thank you for paying so much attention to me."
Yeah,
and now he's thinking like, "Oh,
that's a great thing."
In a big circle of people, "Oh, thank you for paying so much attention to me. I really appreciate it." So now he seems weird by staring at me and commenting on my appearance so much.
Well, I always think it's weird when people comment on what people are wearing.
Yeah,
I'm like, well, I've made a decision to put this on. I feel comfortable, and if you feel comfortable in something, you look good in something. If you feel more comfortable that day with a bit of stubble, you look great.
So we haven't spoke about Britain's Got Talent. How different was that to step in? I mean, with the Britain's Got Talent, my understanding is that you got recruited by them.
Yes. So with Britain's Got Talent, it was after the pandemic, the year everything came back from the pandemic, and they really, really, really wanted to focus on British acts, because we were very patriotic at that point in a good way.
We were standing outside clapping the Danes.
We were clapping for the NHS. And so they decided, obviously a very British thing is Panto. And they've wanted to have Panto on BGT for quite a while, because I actually auditioned about 5 years before. Okay. But my friend, Leanne, saw on Facebook that her friend had posted about, does anyone know any Panto dames? I'd like to chat to a few. And she knew that he was a BGT casting producer. So she came in, we were rehearsing pantomime at the time, and she came into rehearsal and she was like, you need to phone this person right now. Here's his number. She didn't really give me much more context than that. So I phoned him and I said, I'm a friend of Leanne. I'm just doing Panto with her. And he chatted to me about what he wanted to do. And it sounded like a really good idea. And essentially what he wanted to do is what we did on the show. And he said, asked me if I knew any other dames. And I did. So I I got a few of us together, met a few more dames that I didn't know. He found us a choreographer who was one of his friends, told us what he wanted us to do, and then left us alone to go and do it. The good thing about this whole situation was that we were guaranteed to be at the filmed auditions, because what happens with Britain's Got Talent is you can turn up to an audition that's usually at somewhere like the Excel Centre or whatever the arena in Liverpool's called right now, and you'll do an audition for the executive or for the producers, and there'll be lots of producers in lots of different rooms just doing a conveyor belt of acts coming in, and then they decide who goes through to the auditions in front of the judges. But we got fast tracked because they basically, that's what they want. They wanted us. All we had to do really was they quality controlled us, so they made sure that the tracks we wanted to use were available. But we rehearsed that a few times and then ended up at the London Palladium, which was absolutely terrifying. Yeah. It's a very long day. We had to get there at like 8:00, and they do 2 filming sessions a day, and we knew we were in the second one. But you'd film so much stuff on that day anyway. Like you film talking heads, you film stuff. We filmed loads of stuff of us walking around Oxford Street. You film your chat with Anton Deck. It was so much. And what you don't do on the day really is have time to think about what you're going to do, because you're busy. Because also the holding room is actually about a 10-minute van drive away. Right. So you spend a lot of time travelling, a lot of time signing in, scoping out the other acts, seeing what's going on. And then we got taken back to the Palladium, and they kept changing what order we were going to go on. We were supposed to go on first, and then they switched us to second, which I think was a very good decision on their behalf, and it really helped us. But then we were stood in the corridor, and they said, the judges are coming. You need to hide. So the 8 of us and our choreographer and her mum went and just ran down this corridor at the London Palladium and hid around a corner. And we're all stood there, and one of the producers comes to find us, and she says, who's talking to the judges? And I say, that's me. And she says, these are the things they might ask you. Is there anything you don't want to talk about? Any blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, everything's fine. And then she went away, and we all just stood there, and my best friend, who was one of the dames, was stood next to him, and he turned around to me and he went, you better not get 4 buzzers before the rest of us come on. And I went, well, I hadn't thought about that. So then they take us through to meet Anton Deck, and all I can think about is how sick I feel. And the interview happens like in the wings, and the Palladium is a very wide stage but doesn't have a lot of wing space. And they've just had a youth dance team doing something about the Second World War. It's quite intense, which is why I think it was good that we came on second, because the audience was so ready for some fun. And we're chatting to Anton Deck. It's Anton Deck, first of all, who are legends. When they were on TV when I was a kid. They were also children, but they're iconic. Like, I grew up watching them. I've watched their careers. They're on every single piece of television on Saturday night. So you're dealing with the fact you're talking to them. You're going over your head going, what am I gonna sing? What blah, blah, blah. What am I gonna say when I go on stage? You can see like the judges being powdered and stuff and reading their notes about what's happening next. You can hear the audience chatting. And it's just I felt so sick, and I thought I'd made a dreadful mistake, but I sort of become the ringleader, so I couldn't pull out. And I was mic'd up as well. And then someone just tapped me on the shoulder and went, you ready? And I walked on, and the other dames hadn't even noticed I'd gone because they were so obsessed with chatting to Anton Deck. The first thing they knew about me being on stage is the audience erupted in applause and cheering. And I just stood on the star they have and was just waving at people, waiting for someone to start a conversation with me or for the applause to die down. But every time I waved at a different part of the theatre, that part of the theatre, it was like I was doing Mexican waves. I was very much in control. I liked it. And I've forgotten what the question is. I'm just telling you about what happened on the day now.
That's what it was about.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, did you have any run-ins with the judges or anything like that? I mean, I think they all liked it, didn't they?
Oh, on the day, in the room. They absolutely loved us. We got Amanda Holden, Alicia Dixon and David Walliams all gave us a standing ovation. And actually, if you look back at the footage, when I'm talking, doing my chat, Amanda Holden and I chatted, and Simon is looking at me like he loves me. Just going to say, I've never seen more adulation in that man's eyes. So that day it was great, and we got really good feedback from them. And we got 4 yeses. But what I didn't know is that means you're through to the next round. But the next round is that bit where they're just in a room working out what's going to make good television, and you may not make the cut. So that was a bit nerve-wracking. But obviously we did get through to the semi-finals. Semi-finals are really exciting. Did we have run-ins with the judges then? I can probably say this now, but yeah, we did. I had one backstage, and this wasn't really a run-in, but I was a bit disappointed. I think Alicia Dixon is one of the most beautiful people on the planet. Big fan of Boy Does Nothing and her musical career. At the semi-finals, which were at the Hammersmith Apollo, your dressing rooms and the judges' dressing rooms are under the Hammersmith flyover in porter cabins. It's really weird. And you get horrendous signal because you're under, like, concrete. So I was, like, half in and out of costume, and I went into this sort of alleyway that had been created to try and get some signal, and Alicia Dixon walked past me ready for the show, like in her outfit, made up. She was statuesque. She looked stunning. And I just went, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. And she went, I can't look at you. and I was really upset. But what I've realised now is she couldn't. She wasn't allowed to see anything to do with the acts before she went on, which is why we had to hide at the first audition. But in the moment, I was like, oh, blimmin' heck. Yeah. I just told you look beautiful, and you said you can't look at me. I can't even look at you. And she looked stunning. And then, but Amanda Holden was actually the opposite. I don't want to get her in trouble, but she walked past our dressing room, and she just turned her head, and there was 4 of us in there, and we had our costumes in there and our shoes, and we were laughing, giggling, and she went, well, I've got to come in and have a look at all of this. And she just came into the dressing room and was going through our wardrobe. So we had like literally the opposite. Simon and David I didn't see apart from on the stage. But Simon gave us a buzzer, right? Which he took back.
Okay.
And if you look on the BGT Wikipedia, there's only one other act he's taken back his red buzzer from. And it's when the buzzer goes, it is so loud. It's gladiatorial, I swear to God. It's so incredibly loud, you don't really understand what's happening. And it's a bit disorientating, but I'm quite proud of how we got it back. And then the audience booed him. So he took it back. So, and actually, the footage that we have is really quite nice of us going back and forth about it. It's absolutely fascinating to be involved in.
I mean, I was going to go on there.
Were you?
Yeah, I'm quite a good magician.
Okay.
But my magic wand broke.
Oh, no. Unbelievable.
You've worked with quite a few magicians, haven't you? Paul Daniels?
I've worked with Paul Daniels and Debbie McGee, and I can testify to the fact that she is lovely. This year I worked with a magician called Tom Brace, who's a fantastic, really, really, really funny comedian and magician. And have I worked with other magicians?
Me.
You. There we go. I think there must be others. But Paul Daniels and Debbie McGee. Oh, I've worked with Martin Daniels as well, who's Paul Daniels' son. Paul and Debbie, that was an absolute dream because they're just legends. Yeah. And they're really nice people, and they really, really, really cared about what they did. It was beautiful. And I think they're properly in love.
Yeah.
Forget what Mrs. Merton said. I think it was genuine. They would just, like, if there was a spare moment in rehearsals, they'd just be in the corner chatting. Sometimes they were dancing. It was lovely. And Paul was incredibly wise as well. When he passed away, I was really upset.
Have you worked with the Chuckle Brothers?
No.
Everyone who does Panto that we've had on here always mentions the Chuckle Brothers, that they've done Panto with the Chuckle Brothers.
I mean, I'd love to do Panto with the Chuckle Brother.
Right, yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah.
I've not even seen the Chuckle Brothers in Panto, which is a real shame. I also never saw Keith Harris.
Yeah,
big regret that.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably too late to see the Crankies now.
They're still going, aren't they?
Yeah, but I don't think they do Panto. So I've missed the boat there.
Because Dave Benson Phillips was talking about how he still does Panto, but as he's got older, his roles have changed. So now he's like the king, rather
than being like Silly Billy.
Yeah.
The good thing about being a pantomime dame is I was too young for the role when I started doing it. Now I'm probably a good age to be a pantomime dame because it is quite energetic. But I could probably still be a dame in my 70s and get away with it. So we just got to hope the pantomime lasts that long.
It will. It's a tradition, isn't it? Oh, stand-up comedian. So this is something you've only just recently done, right? Stand-up comedy.
Very recently. Oh, yeah. I took my story time to Leicester Comedy Festival. Just been nominated for Best Kids Show, by the way. And I also decided to do an adult story time, which is not to say it was going to be rude or crude, but more a story time for adults just to hear stories without kids running around. Probably still the same stories, like we were saying earlier about adults wanting to enjoy children's books but feeling a bit embarrassed, sort of giving them the space to do that. And the festival, Leicester Comedy Festival is like the major comedy festival in the UK. And they contacted me after I applied and said, do you want to take part in this showcase whilst you're up here of other acts? And I was like, oh yeah, of course. Makes sense. They were offering to pay me. So big yes. And I thought a showcase in fringe terms is usually like 5 shows doing a little clip for prospective audiences. So I was like, this will be brilliant. And then earlier this year, I got an email, like the casting, the call sheet for this showcase night, and it was a mixed bill of stand-up comedians where the audience were expecting stand-up comedians. And if you thought I felt sick when I went to do Britain's Got Talent, I very nearly vomited on my MacBook. But a few of my friends who do stand-up and have also done the festival, they sort of talked me round to the idea of doing it. And I like doing things I'm scared of unless it involves heights because, why not? What's the worst that's going to happen? No one's going to laugh at me and I'm never going to do it again. So I wrote like a 10-minute spot and really overthought it. And then when I got up there, I was on third, which meant I had to watch the host and 2 other stand-up comedians before I went on, who were all brilliant. There's this incredible woman, I think she was called Zoe, but I can't remember her last name, from Canada, who built jokes up in a way that I have never experienced, like jokes within jokes within jokes. It was insane. And then it got to the point where I had to go on, and I had to go on. It was too late for me to run away. And I was dressed really well, like in a sparkly outfit with a big wig on. And I thought, there's no getting away from this. They're going to know where to find me. But it was a really supportive audience, and I had the best 10 minutes of my year so far, I think. I felt really in control, and I realised I can make adults laugh. Some of the stuff I said that just came out of my brain at the time was probably ruder than I would have liked it to be, because I do have quite a rude sense of humour. But actually, I think, dare I say it, I think I pitched it really well, and I would really like to do more. So that's something I'm going to be looking into for the rest of the year. And when I go up to Edinburgh with my kids show, I think what I'd like to do is try and get on some mixed bills in the evenings. Because the thing you have to remember when you're a kids entertainer is also that adults, you need adult fans because they buy the tickets and they interact with the social media. So actually I need more adults. So I've got better to start entertaining adults.
Do you feel like you're playing a character, or do you think it's just a heightened version of who you are? I
think it comes and goes. The character's not been super evident today, I'm not going to lie. I'm just having a nice chat. But I think a good pantomime dame is a heightened version of the actor anyway, because in Panto, the audience want to see characters telling the story truthfully, but they also want to see the real actor when everything goes wrong. And it's a fine line because, you know, ostensibly to most audiences, I'm a nobody. So you still have to get your personality across in the character as well as the character's personality, so that when you laugh or corpse, the audience understand it's the actor corpsing, not the character laughing at the situation in the story. So, yeah, McGee is just a heightened version of whatever this is.
Let me ask you something bigger. So do you think audiences are craving authenticity more than perfection at the minute?
Oh, I would say yes. I think I certainly am. I would rather go and see a show that's not very good, but has a cast of 10 people just doing their best, than see a show that is absolute perfection in terms of everything's in the right place, every note's perfect, but the cast are giving a half-assed performance. And I think that partly comes from social media. Social media is so immediate, and even if it's a fake version of authenticity, it feels more authentic to that person's experience. And I think they do, I think stand-up is asking for that. I think comedy's asking for that a lot. You know, if you watch Taskmaster, you're watching 5 people play versions of themselves, but they are ultimately playing themselves. And so we need to believe that that is the authentic person, even if last one I watched was one of Matthew Boynton and Jason Mantzoukas. Even if Jason Mantzoukas, when he gets home, is a really quiet, calm hummus eater, we have to believe he's the authentically the anarchic destroyer that he is in comedy. And I don't know where it's going with that, but yeah, I think authenticity over perfection, always.
So to round things up, I'm going to do some quick fire questions.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Biggest glitter disaster?
Putting it in a card and not telling someone, so it ended up all over their carpet.
A character you'd love to play just once?
I'd really, really, really like to play Willy Loman in Death of a Salesman.
The weirdest compliment you've ever had?
I don't know. The weirdest compliment I've ever had is probably when someone goes, "Oh, you're pretty." Like they didn't expect it.
A song that always gets the children dancing?
Do you know what? My version of the YMCA, absolute banger. It's L-O-V-E.
How does it go?
L-O-V-E, everywhere you find the L-O-V-E.
And you got to do the L-O-V-E.
The kids go crazy for it.
How do you do the E?
So I just do it like that.
Fair enough. Favourite Panto catchphrase, which I think we all know.
Oh, yes, I am.
Favourite book?
Oh, yes, I am. And the Panto song.
And then how long does it take you to get in your best ghetto?
Getting my best get up will be, I like to give myself an hour, but I like 45 minutes. I can do it in less time if I'm gossiping.
And thinking about your legacy and future, when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, what does success look like to you?
In terms of my legacy, success to me is knowing that in 20 years' time, someone's going to be sat here having this conversation because they came to a story time and learned that they could be themselves because of me. Future, what I hope will happen is I'd love there to be more TV. I'd love the Magic Bookmark to be in the West End. I'd love to be just making more people realise who they are. The good thing about working with child audiences is there's always new children, so there's always new people to tell they can be who they want and love who they are. So hopefully I'll just keep doing this, but bigger and better.
And if a child comes up to you and asks for advice in terms of performing, what advice do you have for them?
My main advice is, do you really want to do it? because a lot of performance is passion-based. And if you don't actually have the passion for it, it's a really hard thing to do. But then on a practical level, join your local Amdram group, perform as much as you can, you know, go to the theatre, watch television, watch films, create as much as you can, speak to anyone. If you ever meet anyone who's doing the career you want, speak to them, find out, even if they can't be bothered to talk to you, like just see what those people are like, see what their energy is like, and just go for it. And
we touched on it, the Magic Bookmark show. That's something you've written yourself.
Yes, so that I wrote that 3 years ago with my friend Katie Pritchard, who's done the music and lyrics, and I wrote the book, as we call it, the libretto. And I perform it. Sometimes I perform it with Katie on a screen as the baddie, and sometimes I've got some friends that drop in and play the baddie IRL in real life. And yeah, we've taken that all over the country. Even did it off-Broadway in New York.
Wow.
And then this August is going to be at Gilded Balloon Teviot from the 5th of August to the 31st of August. Wow. So come and see me.
And if there is a parent listening now who's thinking about bringing their child to see Mama G, what's the top reason they should come along to your show? The
top reason to come along and see a Mama G Storytime or a Mama G Panto is because you like fun, you like sharing that fun with your family, and you like making special, beautiful memories.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I absolutely adore you, because the message you're spreading to the world to make it a better place, I'm getting emotional. Is so important, and you are having such a big impact. And I don't truly believe that you realise the impact you're having by such a simple message, but a message that needs to be delivered to children. So thank you for everything that you do.
Well, thank you very much.
Across the country, and
I appreciate it. And thank you to everyone that lets me carry on doing it. And also, you know, thank you to everyone that believes in the message enough to A, bring their children to see me, but also B, to create a safe space where their children can be who they want and love who they are.